What is your approach when you say you're combining the firewall with cloud-centric analytic capability? Talk to us about that for a moment.
I think it heavily depends, because let's talk about this, where to place the DNS security part. Because if you have a recursive resolver, for example, and you have a rooted network and you only have a perimeter firewall, then, for example, the DNS security should be placed on this recursive resolver. Why? Because this recursive resolver sees every single query directly from the client. He knows which client asked what. He knows which client he has given the following name. Because in the firewall, we'll only see the recursive resolver as a source IP address, for example. However, if you have not only a perimeter firewall, but a segmentation firewall, and you have your microsegmentation in place, the firewall will see every single DNS query as well. So you can easily leverage this DNS security part on this segmentation firewall. But it also depends on other topics. For example, do you have a license for that? Because the big firewall vendors, they charge you for the DNS security. And it's not getting cheap if you have a big firewall at your segmentation layer. Or the question, at least in Germany, we always have the question, do you want to use the cloud or not? If you want to analyze deep query inspection on premises, you have to do it on the recursive resolver because the firewall is not capable of it. If you're fine with the cloud, the firewall vendors are doing quite a good job in blocking DNS tunneling events, because they can easily analyze tens of thousands DNS queries, or let's say just 10 DNS queries within milliseconds if they are using the cloud. So it depends where to use what. And yeah, it depends on the customer. Is it an air-gapped network or not, for example? I've seen every different concept at the customer side, so it depends on the customer. And talking about the TXT records and all the other records, in theory, for an attacker, it's also possible to do a DNS exfiltration or DNS tunneling with just A records. It will be way longer, but if you know these numbers, how long an attacker is present on your network, even though they are getting shorter, much shorter. However, if he wants to fly under the radar, he can also do it with just A records, and you won't block A records or quad A records for IPv6, because if you block them, you're blocking the internet, don't you? So from an attacker perspective, it will just take way longer, but still flying under the radar.